These 5 mistakes changed world history. In this story, it's not enemy armies. It's an emperor destroyed by his own pride. Napoleon was the only man who could have conquered Europe, and the 5 orders he gave with his own hands paved the road to his downfall. Now we reveal those deadly mistakes one by one, brutally and without mercy. Now lean back. Even if you close your eyes, you'll fall into the scene. As the countdown moves from 5 to 1, you will witness how Napoleon walked step by step toward collapse with all the dramatic details. 5. The Continental Blockade, 1807. The year is 1807. Napoleon's power has reached its absolute peak in Europe. France's influence stretched from north to south, east to west. But there was one place Napoleon couldn't take no matter what he tried: Britain. Because Nelson's dominance at sea couldn't be broken, Napoleon chose a different weapon. This time, instead of cannons and muskets, he chose the economy. He drew bold lines across the map and issued his historic command: no nation in Europe will trade with Britain. This embargo will bring them to their knees. On paper, it looked magnificent, almost like the first version of modern economic warfare. But Napoleon forgot something crucial. You cannot run an economy like a battlefield. Touch the bread of millions and every calculation collapses. As soon as the blockade took effect, silence fell over European ports. Masts stood still, warehouses filled up, but goods did not move. Prices soared, smuggling exploded, and British goods slipped in through secret ports. The economic pressure began crushing continental Europe instead of Britain. The most critical rupture came from Russia. Tsar Alexander realized he could no longer let his economy collapse. "We cannot starve our people," he said, and secretly returned to trading with Britain. This decision would later spark a massive war that would engulf all of Europe. Napoleon's plan, perfect on paper, became a disaster on the ground, damaging his prestige and diplomatic power. That is why the Continental Blockade is the first major step on Napoleon's road to downfall. 4. The Spanish Quagmire, 1808. By 1808, Napoleon still looked unstoppable, but his decision to enter Spain was the hidden beginning of his collapse. The event was simple. Napoleon thought the Spanish king was incompetent. "I'll remove him, put my brother on the throne, and the problem will be solved," he said. But Spain was not a land that anyone could control easily. As soon as French troops entered Madrid, a massive explosion of rage turned the city into hell. Spanish fighters used guerrilla tactics with incredible mastery. The French could never form a stable front line. Streets controlled by day fell into enemy hands at night. Villages, mountain paths, narrow alleys, everywhere was an ambush. While Napoleon's army slowly bled out, Britain saw an opportunity. Arthur Wellesley, future Duke of Wellington, rose from Portugal and trapped the French between two fires. Spain became a black hole draining Napoleon's strength. Troop numbers fell, morale collapsed, expenses skyrocketed. And most importantly, Napoleon's image of invincibility cracked for the first time. The war dragged on for years and weakened Napoleon's grip over Europe. That is why the Peninsular War is number 4 on the countdown. 3. Leipzig, 1813. The dust of the Russian campaign hadn't even settled when Europe realized how weakened Napoleon truly was. So they formed the largest coalition the world had seen up to that point. Prussia, Russia, Austria, and Sweden united against him. And the stage was set in Leipzig in 1813. Picture the battle. Gray skies, bells tolling, cannon fire echoing across a valley. One of the largest armies in history advancing brutally toward the French lines. Napoleon was still clever, still brilliant, but his army was no longer what it used to be. He could not replace the soldiers lost in Russia. After 4 days of insane clashes, the French were forced to retreat. But the bridges over the river were blown up too early, making it impossible for thousands of French soldiers to return. Leipzig was not just a defeat. It was the moment Napoleon's dominance over Europe shattered. After this battle, most of Germany slipped from his hands, and France itself came under threat. Leipzig is number 3, because here, Napoleon's power was broken openly and undeniably. 2. The Russian Campaign, 1812. Now we enter one of the greatest disasters in history, Napoleon's march on Russia. He wanted to punish Russia for breaking the blockade. His anger was so great that he gathered a massive army of 600,000 men from across Europe, the largest military force the continent had ever seen. But Russia had a different plan. They would win by retreating, not by fighting. Villages were burned, depots emptied, supplies removed. As Napoleon advanced, the land turned into a ghostly wasteland. When the Grand Army reached Moscow, the city was burning. No victory, no spoils, not even shelter. It was one of history's greatest traps. When winter struck, Napoleon had to retreat, but the road back was deadlier than the advance. Freezing cold, hunger, disease, Russian attacks. The 600,000-man army shrank, and only about 100,000 soldiers made it back. It wasn't just a military collapse. It was the moment the backbone of Napoleon's empire snapped. The Russian campaign is number 2, but its impact may be the heaviest of all. 1. Waterloo. The last breath of an empire, 1815. And now we reach the peak of the countdown. Waterloo. When Napoleon escaped from Elba and returned to France, the people embraced him again as if nothing had happened. He rose once more as emperor, but this time Europe had made a final decision. This man will never return again. The British army under Wellington and the Prussian forces united quickly. The stage was set on the fields of Waterloo in Belgium. It had rained that morning, turning the ground to mud. Artillery became inaccurate. Cavalry charges slowed. Every minute worked against Napoleon. In the afternoon, Napoleon launched a massive assault. French troops attacked the British lines in waves. In a world without machines, cannons and muskets turned the field into pure apocalypse. But then, the Prussian army entered the battlefield with fresh troops. Napoleon's right wing collapsed. Then the center. And history recorded one of its most famous lines: "La garde recule." The Imperial Guard is retreating. These words were the announcement of Napoleon's final defeat. The battle was over. Waterloo was not just a military loss. It was the end of an era, the last breath of a legend. Thus it was. Napoleon's fall was not the result of a single moment or a single battle. 5 massive mistakes formed a chain. The economic blockade opened the crack, Spain deepened it, Leipzig widened it, Russia broke it, and Waterloo shattered it completely. An emperor, crushed by the weight of his own decisions, leaving behind a lesson. Even the strongest cannot bear the burden of their own mistakes. If you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.